Imagine you invested £1,000 in January 2025. Let me tell you what that will mean for you today. Let's say you invested it in different stocks and ETFs. Let me start first with individual stocks. If you had invested £1,000 in Nvidia in January 2025, you would have today £1,340. If you had invested it in Alphabet, which is Google, that would be 1,620 today. If you had invested it in Microsoft, that would be 1,150 today. If you had invested it in Meta, that would be 1,140. If you had invested it in Tesla, that would be 1,200. And if you had invested in Apple, that would be 1,100 approximately. If you had invested it in Amazon, that would be 1,060. So now let's go to ETFs, because what I say is that if you're a new investor, you're just starting, don't pick stocks, go for ETFs. They are the safest. So if you had invested £1,000 in S&P 500 ETF, and this can be your VOO or your SPY or your VOAG or your VOSA, today it would be £1,170. If you had invested in NASDAQ 100 ETF, which is QQQ, this will give you, more tech exposure. That will be 1,210 today. If you had invested in Vanguard FTSE All World ETF, that gives a return of about 14%. You would have 1,140 today. And if you go for, more global diversification, so let's say, for example, you invested in developed markets, ex-US, that's excluding US ETF, that has grown 31% this year. So if you had invested £1,000, you would roughly have £1,310. If you had invested this 1,000 in emerging market ETF, that has grown 30% approximately, you would have today £1,300. If you had gone for Japan equity ETF, that would be 26% growth this year. Your 1,000 would be 1,260. If you had invested in UK FTSE 100 ETF, that would be 1,200 today. So let me give you one more. If you had invested in silver ETF, this is a commodity ETF, the return is 160%. £1,000 in a silver ETF in January 2025 would be worth £2,600 today. Now don't go running to buy silver. Don't go running to buy all the stocks I've talked about. This video is just to remind you that you don't need to predict the future. You don't need to be a trader. You don't need, to find which stock will rise, which stock or which ETF will fall. You just need exposure into the market, and you need diversification. Some stocks or some ETF would shine, some will lag. The main point is that you have a skin in the game. You should have a skin in the game. And this is just 1 year that I have given you. Imagine doing this consistently, not just putting it in January and then waiting for the magic in December, but consistently putting in, adding something to it every month. Imagine how much you would have by now. And imagine doing this for multiple years like most of us are doing. Imagine the returns you would get. This return will be way better than your 3%, 4% that you earn leaving your money in a savings account just because you feel it is safe without you considering inflation. If you consider inflation, you just may be getting poorer as your money loses value just sitting in a bank account. If you're thinking, I want to start my investment journey, and I really don't know where to start, I don't know how to start, you can start by watching my next video on investments. And if you need some handholding to remove that anxiety of, am I doing it right? I don't want to lose my money. Am I doing it wrong? Then you can join our community of smart investors in Wealth Quarters. Once you join, you will have an onboarding call with me to understand your investment goal. You will be supported to make your first investment based on your risk appetite, based on your investment goal and the length of time you want to stay invested for. I will leave the link in the description box. Check this out today. Do not let 2026 go without you starting your investment journey. And I'll see you in the next video.